The Alpha Academy storyline is the best thing going on in professional wrestling currently, and there's a lot of great stuff to choose from. Hi, what's going on? It's Dylightful. This is my first episode of Hot Takes. If you guys go on to enjoy the video, drop a like, as well as leave your wrestling hot takes in the comments below. And as far as this one goes, if I'm being completely honest, I've been high on Chad Gable for probably about the last 6 to 9 months or so, pretty much ever since the Gunther match all the way back when in September of 2023. So there is definitely a present bias here for me personally. However, I do think that the response here actually has a very valid point in the fact that Punk vs. Drew is peak wrestling content. I gotta say, for me personally, I think all the stuff they're doing with the Alpha Academy, specifically with Otis, Maxine, and Tozawa involved as well, is something I'm really personally very invested in, and I'm really excited to see where it takes all of these characters. And I love that Sami is kind of this voice of reason in all of it, trying to tell these people, like, I was under someone like Chad, referring to Roman. Like, it makes perfect sense for the Sami character to be where he is in this storyline, and also for Chad to be doing what he's doing is some of, in my opinion, the best work of his career. He comes across as super dislikable and really a heel that you can hate, and Otis yet again proving that he's genuinely really good in these types of scenarios where you're meant to kind of feel for him. It's very reminiscent almost of the Mandy Rose storyline when Dolph Ziggler got involved. So yeah, I kind of agree with this take, it's pretty good. Next one up from Randy Ito is, I think my hot take is that I think that title belts should more regularly be lost or won on weekly episodes of Raw and SmackDown. Generally speaking, I largely agree with this sentiment. However, I think that that's something that's going to be more relegated to things like the tag titles, be it the World, WWE, or women's titles. However, I would personally be perfectly fine with titles being exchanged more commonly on Raw and SmackDown, if only for the simple fact of we don't need to wait until like a massive show to drop the title at every single turn. Like, at King and Queen of the Ring, I was so over the moon that Liv won. I was convinced that she probably wasn't winning the title until like SummerSlam, if I'm honest. But of course, with Becky's contract expiring, it made perfect sense for the title to change hands there. But generally speaking, I do think there's a lot of value to titles being able to change on Raw and SmackDown, not necessarily that they should. And again, that kind of depends on the story. Like, for example, if they had Sami versus Chad on an episode of Raw, I would personally not be too opposed to Chad picking up the title there. Or maybe even if Sami wins the title back from Chad at some point, maybe they hot potato it back and forth or whatever. The point is, I don't think we should always have to wait until the big shows to pay off storylines. So I kind of semi-agree, kind of semi-disagree with this take. Next one coming in from Vince Austin Stone Cold saying Triple H's PLE booking is good, but too predictable. So this is something I agree and disagree with, because there are certain things that they've done that have surprised me. For example, Becky winning the title on Raw recently was something I didn't really expect. I was kind of confident they would just put it right on Liv, but having her actually get it in a win over Becky elevated her that much more, and made her title win that much more important, thus making it a better overall booking decision. Also, generally speaking, I think there have been a few unpredictable things that have happened, such as how Drew actually beat Seth at WrestleMania before Damian cashed in, which, mind you, a cash-in is always kind of surprising unless they pre-announce a cash-in, as well as I really didn't believe Sami Zayn was winning the title at WrestleMania until it actually happened. So there are some exceptions, but I would largely agree that a lot of the PLE booking is somewhat predictable. And I like the fact that you use the word good here, specifically because I find that predictable booking really tends to reward us regular viewers who watch the shows on a week-to-week basis, and while it would be nice if they sometimes subverted things a little bit, like let's say if Jey Uso won the title at Backlash, I also don't necessarily think they should undermine pre-existing stories for the sake of a cheap surprise pop. So I kind of agree and disagree with this take as well. Alright, and the next one coming up from Dairy Queen 22 saying Jey Uso shouldn't be a main eventer. He doesn't have the moveset or the character to be one. So here's where I draw the line in terms of my opinions on wrestling and where kind of the online wrestling culture kind of tends to lean. So for me personally, all that you need to do to be a main eventer is be over. And when I say over, I generally mean with the live crowds, because as far as the online folks go, I'm gonna be honest, we're a bit fickle sometimes. And as far as certain aspects of Jay's character go, I think he has a great personality, a great character. He also has great timing on his promos where he cuts off at the right times to let them yeet in. And generally speaking, I think he does a really good job carrying himself. And he has a really good dynamic look too. Also, as far as the moveset goes, I agree that his set is generally a bit basic if I'm being completely honest, but that hasn't stopped several other megastars from rising to the top and being main eventers in the past. I mean, listen, we all know about Hogan and his 5 moves of doom as well as Cena. But generally speaking, I think Jay has the chops to be a main eventer. I disagree with this take personally. I understand if you don't though. Alright, and the next hot take is coming from IceBear2156, and they're saying the big gold belt is kind of overrated. Sure, it looks cool up close, but from a distance or from TV, it just looks like a poorly made black belt covered in gold with random bumps. Most of the big gold fans are either super nostalgic or just liking it because everyone else does and are trying to fit in. So, generally speaking, I know what you're saying here, but again, I kinda have to disagree. As far as the title belts in WWE go right now, I think this is either the first or second best designed belt in the entire company, full stop, with maybe the first being like the North American title, which I just kind of like a lot personally because of the red strap, if I'm being honest. And just generally speaking, I think it's just a great design. It captures the old style of the World Heavyweight Championship from, 2011 and way before that, while simultaneously still fitting it with the modern WWE look. I think it's a great blend of old and new, and just generally speaking, I think it is the best looking title, at least on the main roster. So again, totally respect your opinion, I just disagree with it. And the last one for today is coming in from Zemox2534, saying, hot take, Baron Corbin is one of the best wrestlers on the roster and does not get enough credit. Right, so there's a lot to unpack in this statement, and when I say a lot, I mean the usage of the word best. Now, I'm not saying by any stretch it means that Baron's bad. Like, especially if you look at his recent body of work in NXT or his original run in NXT as the Lone Wolf, Baron has all the chops and all the goods to be a great monster heel on the main roster. However, to say he's one of the best wrestlers, I think is a bit of a stretch. I think he's definitely in the upper third or so of wrestlers, but I wouldn't say he's one of the best. He's got a great move pool, his finisher is sick, End of Days is genuinely probably a top 10 finisher for me personally, but again, I wouldn't say one of the best. He has the makings to be, and I think he could get there, but right now I kind of don't feel like he's quite there. Eventually possibly, but not quite yet. I do, however, agree that he doesn't get enough credit, though. You see, there was a long stretch in the late 2010s where he was kind of just our proxy for how we felt about the show. The guy had basically go away heat because people were just not a fan of how much he was being pushed on the show and how much the show was just kind of bad for a while. And I think because of that, people kind of see Baron for what he was then instead of what he is now and possibly could be. Again, I'm not going to go out there and tell you he's the best, but I do think he has a lot of potential to show people that he is worth it and very talented. Like, personally, I was kind of hoping they would have the Wolf Dogs tag team from NXT come up together and maybe they would do some more tag team stuff because I thought him and Breaker were sick together. And if those two can have chemistry as a tag team, I can only imagine what Baron can do as a single star if given the right push and character. So yeah, again, I kind of half agree with this one. And well, that's going to be this episode of Hot Takes. If you enjoyed it, be sure to leave a like on the video, and if this one gets, let's say, 250 likes, we'll do another part. And if you guys want to be featured in that part, be sure to leave a comment down below with your wrestling hot takes, as well as subscribe so you don't miss the next episode. With all that said though, I hope you stay safe, and that was Dylightful.